Good morning, welcome to your Capital Breakfast, and right now we are joined by a man, looking at this here, right, 7 BAFTAs, 2 Emmys, 3 Golden Globes, amongst many others. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but sir, you are in fact a British icon these days.
I don't know how many awards I've got, I don't count, 64.
Yeah, 64. It's Ricky Gervais, everyone! Yeah. Ricky Gervais, welcome to Capital Breakfast. Thank you for coming in.
Lovely to be here.
We've had a lot of guests on this show, but there are very few that Vic would offer a vegan sausage roll to.
Yes, I was going to bring you one, but I accidentally ate it on the way.
Right. It's the thought that counts.
I thought about it so hard.
I'm very excited to have you in, of course, the new show.
It's the most dramatic thing I've done.
Yeah.
I think it's the darkest. It's not like a traditional sitcom, but then I never have done a traditional sitcom.
No.
The Office wasn't exactly a traditional sitcom. In retrospect, it probably was a bit more than.
But there's darkness in everything, I think, that you've done.
There is. There's a real human side, and there is tragedy, and there is pathos, and it's not all roses, and it's it's flawed characters. I deal with reality, and no one's perfect. And it's crazy when I see, and I love something like Friends, but it's all too perfect, and we don't look like that. I certainly don't. You lot do. I lost my looks about 28 years ago. But do you know what I mean? We're all flawed. We've all got problems. We all live in our own head. We're all a little bit screwed up.
Of course.
And I put that in. And I put it in for better or worse. The people who are screwed up aren't the villains necessarily. They've just got problems. Yeah. So I think that comedy at its best, whether it's comedy, drama or whatever, I think it's saying we're all idiots, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I mean, I do have to say, obviously, getting stuck into this show, I mean, as you say, there's dark side, and it is one of the darkest. Obviously, you're dealing with, a man who loses his wife, obviously to cancer and everything like that. But how do you find, in characters like that and in moments like that, how are you searching for the comedy?
Well, the comedy comes from the characters, really, because I don't think someone trying to be funny all the time is funny. Yeah. It's nauseating. A clown isn't funny. A man who wants to be taken seriously, who is angry, that's funny. Yeah. Because he doesn't want to be laughed at. So, as you say, it hits the ground running. You see that my wife has died. And the high concept to it is that imagine a man who loses everything and he's got nothing anymore to lose. Yeah. So he thinks of taking his own life, but the dog's hungry. Yeah. And that gives him long enough to think, right, I'm going to punish the world. And so the comedy comes from him saying exactly what he wants, and we live vicariously through that because we wish we could do that. Yeah. And we don't, because we bite our tongue because of the consequences, or we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, and we don't want to tell the truth. But this man has nothing to lose, so he says it as it is, and it's quite liberating, isn't it? It's quite glorious when he really lets rip.
Exactly. And I think it kind of shows that almost mentality of, like, in that question when people say to you, what would you do if you had one day to live? But it's kind of almost like stretched out over because it keeps on, like, it is that last day, and the next day and the next day and the next day.
And he sort of thinks of it like a superpower. Yeah. Because he thinks, I can say what I want, I can do what I want from now on, and then when it all gets too much, I can always fall back on killing myself. and
see, I shouldn't laugh. It's hard.
No, but it makes him feel better. Yeah. It makes him feel better because he thinks, I've always got that. Roll on death. Yeah. And it's quite sweet, and he says, I can't wait to be with her, and his friend, his brother-in-law, says, but that makes sense, you don't even believe in an afterlife. Yeah. And he says, no, I'd rather be nowhere with her than somewhere without her. So it's really sweet. It's an absolute beautiful love affair that we see in retrospect, but you see it through home videos when he was happy. Yeah. And it's a real relationship. It's not walking hand in hand and candlelit. It's them getting drunk and having a laugh together. She was his soulmate. So it's really quite sad.
But that's the thing. But you do somehow, I mean, as ever, that there are some real gem comedy moments in it as well. I mean, do you find it hard, obviously, because technically you sing the theme tune, write the theme tune, writing, directing, being in it as well. Do you find that difficult doing it all at once?
No, that comes easier to me.
Right.
Being in charge is worse than being a bit in charge.
Right.
You don't have to ask anyone anything, so you just do it. It's your thing, for better or worse. Yeah. So, and also when you're writing, when you're creating, it doesn't come departmentalized for me. The concept comes in my head. Yeah. I already know how to shoot it because I've imagined a scene. Yeah. I don't imagine words on a piece of paper. That's the boring bit, typing it out. Sure. But you imagine it like a film. Yeah.
And you can see it.
Tony says himself in this that he's a little bit of a loser.
Yeah.
And obviously we've all seen The Office, David Brent stuff. What is it about the characters that you like playing losers so much?
Well,
It's because we're all losers.
We are all losers.
Yeah, but it's a different sort of loser, because David Brent was a loser because he wasn't self-aware. So we were laughing at the blind spot. We were laughing at the difference between how he sees himself and how we see him.
Yeah.
Whereas with Andy Millman and extras in this character, he is self-aware. He knows exactly what's going on and he hates it.
Yeah.
So the comedy comes from him being angry about his lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which we all do. You
And
know,
seeing the sadness in that.
yeah, we're all a bit. I mean, everyone's more self-aware than David Brent. But you know, we wake up and we go, oh, what a terrible day, and we whine about nothing, and that's another theme of it, because he's meeting people sort of worse off than himself. But that's human nature. We always think we're the worst. You know, if you've got a toothache and you see someone fall off their bike, you go, I can't be bothered, I've got a toothache. Do you know what I mean? We worry about ourselves first.
But do you find that there are like set types of people like within this world, especially within comedy as well, that really hone in on those types of things? Like you do have your Larry Davids who will go full in on that, seeing that sadness and anger and like showing the comedy in those moments. I
suppose mine's a more tragic, realistic version of Larry David. Mine's a bit like Larry David mixed with Falling Down or something. Because this guy, it's not surreal.
For sure.
Larry's a bit more surreal and convoluted plots. Whereas this is just realer. But it's a man who's angry with the world. Because joking aside, he's in grief. Yeah. You know, he really is. Of course. He's really depressed, and he's just trying to make himself feel better. A second at a time. And then when you look back on it, you realise that actually he still had a conscience. He was trying to make himself into a psychopath so he didn't feel pain anymore. But it doesn't work because he's a nice guy, really. And, he is nice to the vulnerable. He looks after his dog. He looks after his nephew. He's nice to the new girl. He's nice to the old lady in the graveyard, played by Penelope Wilton, because he's a decent man. He's just in pain. He's just in terrible pain.
Yeah. Finding the comedy in pain is an age-old coping mechanism as well, isn't it? Because we always say, if you don't laugh at it, you'll cry.
Well, that's what humour's for.
You've got to.
That's exactly what humour's for.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
It's to get us over bad stuff. And that's why I talk about it in my stand-up as well. I talk about the fun we had at my mum's funeral, my dad's funeral. Yeah. Because it's what they would have wanted.
It's my favourite bit of your stand-up.
Oh, cheers.
I have laughed a lot at that. Something else I laughed at in particular. I've got to bring up one scene, mainly for culinary reasons that I'm quite curious about. There's a scene where you meet a woman who makes food out of her personal yeast. I'm going to call it.
Yes, she makes bread from her yeast from a certain part of her anatomy. And she also makes rice puddings out of her own breast milk, right? Yeah. Both those are true stories.
True stories.
Yeah. Not people I met. No.
Are you sure?
It's not restaurants I go to.
What Instagram site is this?
No, I trawled because my character works for a free local newspaper in a small town, right? Yeah. And I trawled real stories to sort of spoof, so both of those stories actually exist.
In doing your research for these stories and getting to the character of a local journalist, did you eat the rice pudding or bread?
I did not eat the rice pudding. Even in the scene, and it was real rice pudding. No, the joke was I've got a bit of a loser mate played by Tony Way, who's my sort of like slobby sort of fat friend, and she offers us a sample, and I go, oh my God, no. And before I can say anything, he's slurping it down.
Oh.
Yeah. In the scene.
It's of course. Yeah. I mean, and like when that first came through, and it was the yeast thing, just
It's just the word yeast, isn't it?
It's early.
It's
early. Usually followed by infection.
Let's hear it for the one and only Mr. Ricky Gervais, who's got his new show out on Afterlife.